to excessive smoke in the area. We have the stories making the details.
Mama nga kibinnyo ekibatuuseeko.
Kibinnyo ddala. Kuba kati we tusigadde bwereere tetulina kyetulinawo. Bannayuganda bonna abampuliriza oba abandaba tetulina kyetulinawo wabula tusaba Katonda n'abalina obuyambi batutaase kuba tetulina kyetusigazizza. Essente zigenze, mugiriddemu ssente, mugiriddemu emmaali enkalu, mugiriddemu buli matiriyo owa buli kika akola sofa set. Ffe tuwa Kampala yonna n'ebweru w'ekibuga sofa set zonna zisibuka wano. Era abasuubuzi baffe bonna abatusuubulako tubakubira omulanga nti we mubadde mujja wayidde, we mubadde mujja akasente oba matiriyo byonna wayidde. Bannaaye n'abalina obuyambi mujje mututaase ate mutuuke ku gurawundi kubanga muffe mwennyini mulimu abafere, mulimu abalina ssente nga bamwe bali bakola naffe naye ng'ate tebazitutuusaako senga ziba zituuse ne bazirya bokka. Naye mujje mututuukirire wano wennyini okulinaana ofiisi za Nuupu ng'okkiririra awo waliwo ekikubo kye bayita ekyokkavule. W'okkirira n'otuuka ku mwala opposite ne State Junior essomero.
Wano obadde okola nga ki? Kuba buli omu alina department gy'akola, waliwo akola embaawo, waliwo akola sofa.
Kati nze ntunga entebe zonna eza buli kika, ndi mutunzi era ekifo kyange kibadde awo awali amabaati ago wentungira wetubadde awo, naye kyonna kisaanyeewo era nga tukola buli kimu. Ntunda obugere obugenda ku ntebe, ntunda ebigoye, mbadde nina ebyalaani munda mbaddemu n'ebyalaani 6 eby'amasannyalaze. Mubaddemu ebitono bino ebyasinga byonna bijjiriddemu. Ate ne bye tutaasizzaako babibbye kuba abayaye be basooseewo nga poliisi tennaba kujja. Poliisi egenza okutuuka nga wakoze eki waweddewo. Ate n'obuzibu kye tubadde tusinze okufuna ddala ekiremesezza emmotoka ez'obuyambi, omwala babadde bagukola nga bagutemyemu. Kati nga tetulina kyakukola n'emmotoka nga tezirina we ziyitira. Negayirira gavumenti etutaase senga kino kireme okuggwaawo, kireme okuddamu nate kuba guno gwakubiri nga twekubirira omulanga. Era nze kwennyini bankwatako ku mawulire nga nkaaba ogwasooka naye tetwafuna buyambi, tebwatutuukako. Bannaffe abamu baazitwala, ffe waffe abaffe abaalumwa abalina obusobozi abatajjirwa bintu be baafuna okuzigobako. Gavumenti etuuke eno muffe mwennyini kubanga wonna agobera nti bakusange wano abamuffe tetutuukayo, tetumanyiiyo. Naye ate we tugamba nti nno tuse ku gurawundi tetulina buzibu, tewaliwo agenda kubakuba. Mutuuke ku gurawundi kwennyini. Tulinamu bakyamaani baffe, tulinamu abanene abatukulembera, tulinamu ab'ebitiibwa abatukulembera. Bannaye nsaba buli alina obuyambi, buli alina kasobola okutuwaayo, ab'ebibiina betwewolako. Mbeegayiridde bamaama bataata mutuyambe, tukaabye amaziga mangi ku mitima kuba kati gatuwedde nako. Naye tusaba buyambi. Buli omu alabya vidiyo zino oba ku TV, tuyambe ng'olina obusobozi. Tuuka muffe, tobalirira bali bawaggulu wabula tuuka muffe mwennyini ku gurawundi. Lwaki nkikkaatiriza ekintu ekyo nti wonaawa bali abakulu tezigenda kututuukako. Muffe mwennyini mwe muli bakyeyamaani, muffe mwennyini mwe muli abatukulembera. Tukutte ku baana abayaaye bonna tubayina, tubawadde emirimu, naye kati essaawa zino tetulina kyakubakolera kubanga tubadde tubasembeza nga basula mu bibanda byaffe n'omugamba akuuma emmaali yaffe. Naye essaawa zino newe basula, essaawa zino tetulina we tugenda bateeka, tetulina we tugenda basuza. Kitegeeza agenda kudda ku street asobole okunyakula ate obusawo.
Those are stories and the sad stories in Karere Market. And from Karere Market, we headed to Bobi Wine's place, where the Uganda Police Office Force on Monday blocked a group of lawyers and National Unity Platform NUP legislators from accessing Robert Kyagulanyi alias Bobi Wine's home in Magere, Wakiso district. The group, led by John Baptist Nambeshe, the opposition chief whip, included Mwada Nkunyinje, the Chajondo East MP George Musisi, the Kira Municipality Municipality MP Sheila Amanyiro and lawyers Jonathan Eluto, Aaron Kiza, Kakulu Tumusime, and Kato Tumusime, among others. We have the stories that are making the details.
Batwagalayo nino waabwe baabali bakomyere bannange n'abatiitiizi nze bantama babapani
us, and they have ordered us out. Not only have they blocked us from entering the residence, but they ordered us backing, and as we are trying to leave, then they arrested Comrade Kakuru Tumusime, who works with us on these matters. You know him, most of you. They roughed him up, beat him up, and for reasons we have not yet understood, because they just suddenly pounced on him and started beating him up. One of them claimed that he has taken a photograph of them. That is not a legal problem. We don't know why they don't want their photos taken, yet they are in a public place around the private residence of the political leader. They have refused to tell us where they are going to detain him, but they have put him on what most people call Kabandari, the police pickup truck, and they have taken him after beating him to God knows where. We'll be following up to ensure that he gets police bond and to ensure that his rights are respected, but we continue to urge police that it must stop this illegal blockade on the residents of Godwine.
Welcome back from Magere, and from Magere we take you to the yesterday's public day where Museveni lays a wreath at the burial grounds of Archbishop Janan Luomo in Chitugum in his honor, as we take the stories that are making the details on the matter.
But I'm glad we avenged the death of all these people. Not only Luom, Ben Chiwanuka, all those people who have been killed by those criminals. They thought they would succeed, but I'm glad we took part in making sure that they failed. So we are now here celebrating his sacrifice. And as you heard, the plans are underway to build a nice center here to commemorate his contribution, but also develop this area. Amin made many mistakes. First of all, he imposed himself on us as a leader. I was in the president's office that time. As a research assistant.
don't know,
And I mean, he used to come and we would talk there outside the office.
I mean, no way, Kenyu, June
When he would be coming from meeting your body.
President Bore.
And we were busy with serious programs. We had, of course, had differences with Obote, but this was now, we were trying to manage those differences.
One no watiga teacher Paul, Caribedu no Kinemukane Tamo Perwate ki Obore, Ento no watiga Tote Menani Olo, Winyo Betie Kinwa.
We were busy with the East African integration.
No Amiro, Lobome, Africa, Matunkunya, Horipe,
and busy with the liberation of the whole of Africa. But remember that time, many of these countries were still under colonial rule.
Oh no, Ben,
Like Kenyatta, like Mwalimu Nyerere, like Kaunda, to move on those fronts, liberation and integration.
don't want Machalo Kurikar, no watiga deal to tell a Maguteki Nimwa, Chalo Bore, Kenneth Kaunda, Nyerere.
On a Monday, 25th, when we were going to work, we want to go to work, there is some problem.
Doing in the Pirua beach, bedroom chain, any more beer were chain. No, I think you pay me Cherokati, Chiki Wine, Permonity, pay Chetati.
I was staying in Kireka, the housing justice there.
I don't know, a berry Kireka, no Orimogoma party Kunu.
So we sat in the houses and then
That was the side of the public day yesterday. And from there, we come back to the FDC top officials, where in Sivambi, top FDC officials told Nsivambi betrayed Nandela Mafabi, Semuju Uganda. And this story, they say that Semuju Uganda was much better in the leadership scheme for FDC. We have the stories maligning the details.
naye nakwasibwa ekifo ekyo bwoba ogerageranyiza
Semuju Uganda yali mulungi naawe. Semuju Uganda yali mulungi nnyo, amusinga wala nnyo Semuju Uganda.
kuba omusajja ekintu abadde nakyo kumpi okwera
Mugisha Moses Okwera.
okay mukulu Mugisha Okwera Moses sibisebe tusanyisa okulaba okutwegattako biri biti eyo
Tuli awo tuli bulungi tuli lunaku lukulu olunaku lwa Archbishop Archbishop waffe Luwumbu Janani ffe ng'Abannayuganda tuli basiimu nnyo okulaba tuseebera lunaku yali wa musajja mulungi nnyo wa byafaayo musajja alisa ku official musajja wa teri antama
nga bamuyise akyalina
kiri ku ye kati kiri ku ye bw'aba batazze bibye nze sinze bayise ye
naye yali asuubizizza okuzimba ekibiina ennyo.
Of course yali asuubiza nti nagenda kukola naye nga mazima gali nti tena byakola.
Mwamulabirawo oba mwali
twamulabirawo nze namulabirawo
kubanga yali amaze okwesamba powa
ffe twamulabirawo nga tagenda nakukola
naye ne mumalaga muwa olw'embeera eyaliwo
natuyita na meeting atakuwa mbeera zonna kulaba nti tuzimbe ekintu twamulabirawo naye kati bivuddemu ndowooza obiraba kati
naye tewali n'omu gwayogera naye wadde bawaliidi bano balubega waliidi
ose waliidi alina kubanga ayogera naye waliidi epa we waliidi akola
ate ye mwogezi w'ekibiina
si mwogezi w'ekibiina
waliidi
mwogezi w'ekibiina ye Kikonyogo deputy omwogezi w'ekibiina ye Kalimagezi ava eri Njeru wali naye ali mu ranka naye aliko yali ku komiti yasi omwogezi w'ekibiina wali mwogezi ne deputy omwogezi naye waali mulala nnyo
naye ekibiina nga tekinnaba kuvayo omutongole mumuvumirira omusajja eyagenda
andi betugenda mu step by step national chairman yagenda okugaidinga ebintu bitambula naye bagenda kumuyita ogereko naye oyavayo nayogera n'agamba yekebimanya byanyamuwe so amazima gali nti yagenda nga ye tiyagenda kuba ekibiina naye nga bwenkugambye kizibu nnyo public okusaparatinga omuntu n'ekibiina ng'omuntu ali ku level y'ekibiina nene bwetyo.
Those are stories making part in the FDC political side. Still in our political side, we have fears that has raised in an MP, Noop MP in Jinja, who said that they are taking over his victory, and he told that this won't be allowed to take over his victory as things went apart in Inamere in Masaka district. We have the stories that are making the details.
Clarification that she should come out and clarify. Secondly, as I've said, we were 9 in the contest in Uganda, and NRM had 2 contestants. One had the card and the other was independent, but NRM winning. Now the rest we were opposition, and sincerely we've been caucusing. Even on that day when I was declared, a fake PR form was presented, to which I presented mine that was authentic, and I was even telling them that look at the paper, you can even test it through your machines. But beyond that, I called my colleagues, I asked the returning officer to set aside the dispute as I called colleagues, so that we can reference the kind of PR forms they have before she takes a decision. Indeed, when they all came, they presented their PR forms, and all their PR forms were the same as mine. The other NRM candidate, who is a suspect in this matter, had a DR form that was different and was only him with that DR form. So sincerely, we are saying that this is not a dispute between us. This is a dispute over a decision that involved the entire country, a decision that involved the population of the city, the population of my constituency. So matters that are of public interest cannot be handled that way. These are matters that should be respected. Now that this election came, it had a lot of its problems. It had so many emotions. If people are settling, if people are now getting back to their normal life, that should not be disrupted with these kinds of tendencies that we see. I feel, and I'm having a conviction, that powers should prevail over this situation so that the country gets to its normal day-to-day running, and we get out of this state.
So are you basing on rumors or you have evidence?
The evidence I have, first and foremost, is that we are motivated by the case in Masaka. And it is evident that the person declared in Masaka thanked the speaker. And we are seeing that what transpired in Masaka is being replicated word for word, action for action in Busoga. And it is for that reason that we need clarification such that we know how to now start handling that matter. Because to my knowledge, an election process is extremely demanding, is extremely divisive, is a very big decision that whatever the outcome is, once the population starts to settle, it should not be interrupted with, especially when one is being need to manipulate.
Welcome back from the Noop in Jinja. And from Jinja, that has been the political side. We return to Uganda's economy, where Uganda's gold exports has hit 6.4 billion. Only that is approximately 200 million US stays in economy, first post Africa N18G summit. In this country that Uganda is more developing, brings back the economy of the country and urges the citizens to redevelop the gold mines in the country. We have the details on the matter.
Processing, even though it produces relatively little itself. The East African country imports gold ores from neighboring nations, refines them, and then exports the metal to destinations like the UAE and India. In effect, Uganda functions more as a processing and trading center than a major producer of its own gold. Uganda's gold exports have skyrocketed, overtaking coffee, which is the country's traditional top export. Soaring international gold prices have drawn new traders into the market. Last year, the launch of Uganda's first large-scale gold mine a Chinese-owned project worth about $250 million, further boosted supplies. As a result, gold exports jumped from $1.26 billion in 2019 to $6.4 billion in 2025. By comparison, coffee brings in just $2.4 billion, while cocoa contributes $700 million a year. Now, despite its surging value, gold brings Uganda an unexpected paradox. This was highlighted by the Deputy Governor of the Bank of Uganda at an economic forum in Kampala.
Those familiar with finance, this highlights a paradox. While gold is the largest export earner, it is also the largest import invoice. Looking at the trade balance for gold alone, the net figure is only about $200 million, which raises questions about the origins of some of this gold.
Now, to simplify it, the headline number, $6.4 billion, shows the total value of gold leaving Uganda. But after accounting for imported gold and refining, the amount actually staying in the economy is only about 200 million. Now, the huge gap between export volumes and domestic production raises questions about transparency, supply chains, and value addition. Now, this is exactly why policy is now shifting to track and to regulate gold flows more closely.
Welcome back from the economy of the country. Today, Radio Yo News is moving on the political side of Uganda. And here we are still heading to the residency of His Excellency Bobi Wine, opposition leader, where the opposition MPs soldiers raided the homes of opposition MPs, searching for Bobi Wine, families held at gunpoint. This happened when we are at the scene. We have the stories that are making the matter.
Seriously still hunting down His Excellency Bobi Wine. They are moving place to place, raiding homes of opposition MPs and close confidants of His Excellency Bobi Wine, searching for him or any clue to his whereabouts. Of course, behind me, that is Magere, where His Excellency Bobi Wine's residence stands. The atmosphere is as you can see behind me here. And of course, across homes of different opposition MPs and the confidence of Bobi Wine, the situation continues to be tense. Everyone is asking who is next, who is going to be ready next. Of course, they are searching for where Bobi Wine is. Last Friday night at around 10 p.m., their soldiers stormed the home of one of Bobi Wine's confidants, who is also the NEP MP or Member of Parliament for Ntengelu. Family members were grilled, pressed, they were questioned at gunpoint, by the way, because later on they also released the live bullets, as we are going to dive deep with the help of the article came across from Daily Monitor. So that is the situation. That is the update, and in order for us to understand the context of all this, I come across this article from Daily Monitor, and it is expounding more on the situation. It says, MP says Kayunga home raided by military searching for Bobi Wine. Of course, there it is. That is the home they raided for one of the MPs. That is Mr. Patrick Nsanja. Now, let's dive deep into this issue or into this update with the help of this article, and I also want you to follow along. It says Uganda People's Defense Forces, the UPDF soldiers, on Friday night raided the home of Mr. Patrick Nsanja, the Ntengelu North MP elect in Chilindi village, Nazigo sub-county in Kayunga district, in search of National Unity Platform President Mr. Robert Kyagulanyi, also known as Bobi Wine, whose whereabouts are unknown. Mr. Kyagulanyi fled his home in Magere, Wakiso district on January 16th, 2026 after a night raid by the military following the January 15th general election, in which the Electoral Commission announced Museveni the winner. Mr. Kyagulanyi finished second. Mr. Kyagulanyi rejected the results as fake due to reported massive failure of the biometric voter verification machines, countrywide arrests and intimidation of opposition polling agents, ballot staffing, among others. I honestly also don't know where the man is. As a NUP supporter, I cannot tell where Kyagulanyi is now. Mr. Nsanja told this reporter on the phone before noting that security is closely monitoring my movements and phone calls.
Dear listeners, when you stay on Radio Yo, we are ready to give you the international and local news. Remember to stay connected and stay tuned. This has been the local news. We go for a commercial break. We'll return back with international news. Stay tuned.
Molaya Cookies buli luluma lujja n'obuwoomi n'essanyu. Cookies zaffe zirina omugaso eri omubiri gw'omuntu era nga zikolebwa mu bintu ebiri nakyo. Ziri mu bika eby'enjawulo. Coconut flavor nga muno mulimu ekinazi ekibaamu ekiriisa ekya vitamin B wamu ne proteins. Ginger flavor erimu entangawuzi eno yennyini erimirwa ku ttaka eryaffe. Lemon flavor eno erimu ekiriisa ekya vitamin C. Chocolate flavor eno erimu chocolate mwennyini awoomera abaana. Vanilla flavor akawoowo n'obuwoomi obwa vanilla. Tulina nuts flavor ng'eno erimu ebinyeebwa mulimu potassium, calcium, vitamin B ebiziyiza kwabo abalwala endwadde y'omutima. Tulina oats zikusa ziyamba okukendeza omugejjo, okusala amasavu, ziyamba ku bano abalina olubuto olwesibye. Zirimu vitamins, fibre ne minerals. Ziwooma kubanga zirimu omubisi gw'enjuki. Wotalya Molaya Cookies oba tolidde, tusangibwa Bukoto. Okumanya ebisingawo tukule ku simu yaffe noti 7 noti 5 86 noti 2 96 nkiddamu 0705 86 02 96. Molaya Cookies muwoomu nnyo.
Abasomesa abatendeke nga bakola okukirawo.
Omuzadde kankwanjulire essomero eddungi Makerere Modern Secondary School erisangibwa Makerere Kikoni okuliraana Makerere Business Institute lya O ne A-level nga ly'abawala n'abalenzi lya kisulo awamu n'abo abava wabweru. Tulina computer laboratory ennungi okuzaama, chemistry, physics wamu ne biology lab zirimu ebyuma byonna ebyetaagisa omuyizi okuyita obulungi. Enzikiza zonna zikkirizibwa. Tulina enable center number abasomesa baffe batendeka okuzaama. Abaana basomera walungi okuzaama. Ebisale byaffe bijja mu buli nsawo ya muzadde. Okumanya ebisingawo tukubire ku 0772 44 88 84 oba 0755 93 12. Nziddamu 0772 44 88 84 oba 0755 93 12. Iye Makerere Modern Secondary School ku lw'empirizi y'omutindo.
Batimayo teyasirika bwe yawulira nti woyayita omwoyo
Anchawa program leka Katonda akulu okwagala kwe eri obulamu bwo etegekebwa Mbuya Prayer Palace Christian Center esangibwa Mbuya Kinnawataka wamu n'obuweereza obwa Prayer Online Church. Abasumba ab'enjawulo abakulembeddwamu omusumba Jamil Kibuule nga bakusomesa ekigambo kya Mukama kw'ossa n'okukusabira mu nsonga ez'enjawulo okuva ku ssaawa 6 okutuusa ku ssaawa 7 ez'amalya g'ekyemisana. Monday okutuusa olwokutaano ebeera program leka Katonda akola okwagala kwe eri obulamu bwo.
Batimayo teyasirika.
Let's go. Turn your radio volume to its maximum level as you listen to Radio Yo. Radio York.
Welcome back from the commercial break, and here I take you into the international news that are making headlines and stories around the world. We begin from KwaZulu-Natal, where sugarcane farmers in KwaZulu-Natal are calling on the government to rescue the country's sugar giant Tongato Harold. Business rescue practitioners have filed for provisional liquidation of the entity, with R12 billion debt and a filed rescue deal put forward by the Vision Consortium. The livelihoods of 1 million people now hang by a thread. We make the stories, or we have the details on the matter.
Business rescue practitioners turned to the High Court for provisional liquidation, admitting they can no longer keep the business running. The Vision Consortium rescue plan was supposed to be the lifeline. However, negotiations between Vision and the Industrial Development Corporation failed to result in binding agreements, leaving the sale to lapse. Tongaat Hewlett also received a letter of demand from Vision for 11.7 billion rand, which was immediately due. Cane grower Nkosinathi Msweli is concerned. He supplies Tongaat with 3,000 tons of cane every season and employs 7 permanent staff. If the molds close, his business dies.
Initially, we'll have cane, but we have got no mill to crush to, and then even the industry will collapse. So probably this will be turned into a grazing land, and then there will be no jobs, there will be no work. Everything will just be a disaster. Not for only me, but the whole industry.
Tongaat Hewlett processes nearly 30% of South Africa's sugar, with a production in KwaZulu-Natal worth 19 billion rand. More than 15,000 small-scale growers and more than 1,000 large-scale cane growers depend on these gates, one of 3 Tongaat Hewlett mills to stay open.
Those are stories that are making headlines in KwaZulu-Natal. We are still in South Africa, where in South Africa water crisis, the water provision challenges across the country prompted the President Cyril Ramaphosa's establishing of the National Water Crisis Committee, which he will chair with. Some have expressed that the ongoing water infrastructure failures have been years in the making, and that unequally long concerted effort led by experts and not political deployees. We have the stories that are making the headlines.
Not political deployees is what's needed to turn the situation around. Let's unpack this further with the Executive Manager at WaterCan, Dr. Farrell Adams, as well as the Deputy Minister of Water and Sanitation, Deputy Minister Silo Sitlalo. Deputy Minister, good evening. Thank you so much for your time. Really do appreciate it. I want us to go back to last week a little bit and get a sense of what the interventions was, particularly across Gauteng, where the problem was most exacerbated, that prompted the President to pull the Minister of Water and Sanitation, as well as the Minister of Cooperative Governance and Traditional Affairs, out of the State of the Nation to urgently address the water crisis. Today, as I'm speaking to you, many communities across the city of Johannesburg and parts of Gauteng are still without water. What has been done since the President's intervention?
Well, good evening to yourself, Oliver, and good evening to Dr. Adams. And I think, I sense that there's a certain level of honesty that is needed in this conversation right now, because I think a lot has been said, and of course the situation remains in many parts of Johannesburg and across the country remains the same. I do feel that somehow we were almost sort of like attending to a crime scene that we did not we were not necessarily needed to be part of. One of the things that I think, I saw the presentation from Joburg Water and Rand Water this morning, and of course, Rand Water's system is steadily stabilizing. Of course, they're just over 40% now, and they have to get to 60 to 80% in order to be able to fully function. Unfortunately, some of the systems in Joburg Water are still remaining very overwhelmed and are unable to obviously provide the water to the necessary system in order to be able to cater to communities. I think over and above that, what the President intended to do was to obviously get the Minister to be able to craft a coordinated approach with the Minister of Cooperative Governance and Traditional Affairs, which is the department that municipalities essentially report to and has oversight over municipalities in as far as their state is concerned. And we've emphasized the point, and as the department have indicated what it is that the Joburg Water and other role players need to do in order to be able to focus strategically on assets and systems that obviously are problematic. And the responsibility therein in terms of that implementation lies squarely with Joburg Water, because it is within their system where there is obviously crucial challenges in as far as that is concerned. But I do think that there's much more that needs to be done, and I'm just as frustrated as everybody else when it comes to this particular issue, and I feel that I'm obligated to obviously say this. If indeed there is a general consensus that the water crisis in Johannesburg is exactly that, a water crisis, one would assume that a special council meeting would have already been convened in order to be able to have these discussions, and also we would have had to also consider whether it was in actual fact a good enough reason for then the Department of Cooperative Governance and Traditional Affairs to then place the city of Johannesburg under administration, so that we can then be able to bring in that expert knowledge that will be able to intervene within that short period of time in order to be able to implement some of the reforms that we've put forward as the Department of Water and Sanitation.
Those are stories that are making news in South Africa. And from South Africa, we return back to Ukraine, where Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky has criticized Washington's reported focus on concessions, insisted on a strong security guarantees against Russian President Vladimir Putin as the Russia-Ukraine war intensifies. One person was killed in Odessa. Russia claimed it downed 88 Ukrainian drones over southern and border regions. We have the details on the story.
Look.
Want strong security guarantees against Russia and Russian President Vladimir Putin. He has even called Putin a slave of war. Strikes continue to pound Ukraine. Odessa faces Russia's wrath as overnight drone strikes turn residential buildings to ash heaps. Kyiv and its Western allies have repeatedly accused Moscow of deliberately freezing Ukraine's population with its attacks on the country's energy infrastructure. And in Russia's Krasnodar region, authorities claim that Ukrainian drones damaged an oil depot and caused several fires. Moscow's defense ministry says it has downed 88 Ukrainian drones over Russia's southern and border regions. As the two warring nations refuse to back down, Zelensky has delivered another plea. He has asked for security guarantees for a minimum of 20 years from the U.S., which he says will allow him to sign a peace deal with dignity.
We just had a meeting with investors and business leaders, and they require guarantees that extend beyond 5 to 10 years. Currently, we have a proposal from the American side for 20 years plus, 30 or even 50 years. We will see what the administration and Congress are willing to accept.
Ukrainian, Russian, and American delegations are due to meet in Geneva in next week. The U.S.-brokered peace talks will decide the fate of the 4-year-long war. The Ukrainian president is optimistic, saying that he thinks the Geneva trilateral talks will be substantive. But he also says that U.S. pressure to make concessions is mostly aimed at Ukraine, and Russia has shown few signs that it is ready for compromise. Zelensky has also accused Moscow of seeking to delay decisions on a final peace deal by changing its lead negotiator.
The Americans often return to the topic of concessions, and too often those concessions are discussed in the context only of Ukraine, not Russia. Europe is practically not present at the table. It's a big mistake to my mind.
With U.S. President Donald Trump seeking to push through a deal to end the war, the American representative to NATO has something different to say. Matthew Whitaker says that Russia may never be ready to make a deal. It's a statement in direct opposition to what Trump has said. Moscow has stuck to its demands for sweeping territorial and political concessions from Kyiv. Russia is also demanding that Ukrainian forces pull out of the country's eastern Donetsk region. Ukraine has rejected a unilateral pullback, and
Those are stories that are making the news in Ukraine and Russia. The war is still extensive and the fightings are also still continuing. But we return from Russia and Ukraine. We come back to New Delhi in India, Zuha, where at least 7 people died and several others suffered from burn injuries when a chemical factory caught fire in India's western state of Rajasthan on Monday. Police sources confirmed over the phone. The incident occurred in the Bhiwandi industrial area of the Rajasthan. All the stories we brought to you on Radio U.
The U.S. envoy to New Delhi, Sergio Gore, accompanied Admiral Samuel J. Paparo Jr., commander of the U.S. Indo-Pacific Command, to India's Western Army Command headquarters today. The delegation received briefings on the formation's capabilities, past operations and future path. They will next head to Bengaluru for startup meetings, including 2 about space, 1 about defense, and also an Indo-US conference. The Delhi High Court has granted actor Rajpal Yadav interim bail in a cheque bounce case. A cheque from Yadav worth 9 crore rupees had bounced. So far, the actor has deposited 2.5 crore rupees with 1.75 crore paid today on top of 75 lakh rupees paid earlier. The actor's lawyer has said that Yadav issued cheques to settle a 5 crore rupee debt that ballooned to 9 crore rupees with interest and penalties. However, the cheques bounced, triggering charges under India's Negotiable Instruments Act. The Central Board of Secondary Education, or CBSE, has now clarified eligibility criteria for the new Class 10 board exam scheme starting this year. Students must appear in the first exam, and missing 3 or more subjects makes them ineligible for the second. The rule addresses queries from students and parents on personal, medical, or other reasons for absence.
Dear listeners of Radio Yo, here with us makes the end of the international and local news. I remain Wandela Brand. For the latest stories on our news, stay tuned and tune on the YouTube channel Radio Yo for the latest news and the gospel, because we are the best in the leading news in the country. We wish you the best of the best. We meet next day. Thanks.